What's up, stringlings? Today we're going to be building a guitar. This guitar. Let's check it out. So a lot of you know by now that I'm a really big fan of building guitar kits. I built a bunch of them. I built one for my buddy Jerry. We're going to do a little bit of a rundown on that one later. And I've done a couple of upgrade sort of modifications over the last couple of years on some of the kits. But today I picked this up. This was actually part of my prize for a Guitar of the Month win that I had with Solo, which was pretty cool. So half price, which is awesome. So thanks, Solo. And what we're going to do is I'm going to build this straight out of the box and just show you the whole walkthrough on how to construct the guitar. It's very, very simple. And these Telecaster kits, this one has a spalted maple veneer, but these Telecaster kits honestly are the easiest thing in the world to put together. If you take a look back here, you might be able to see this gem style guitar. That one is right out of the box. I've done no modifications on it. A couple of years ago I did a video series on this Strat with no modifications as well. Plays like a dream right out of the box. I had to do very little setup. And then of course this is the Les Paul model, the Ravenswing Les Paul model that I didn't do straight out of the box. I just went right into finishing it. Quick little rundown on how these are put together though. They're kits, and you'll see all the parts. I'll have it all set up to show you how they all go together. They ship with a sealer just to protect against moisture damage. If you're going to do finishing work on these, which I am with this guitar, but not today, you have to sand that off first to get down to just the bare wood. That's how we ended up with this Barnfire Burst on the Strat. The gem here actually still has just the finishing sealer on it. I am going to do some finishing on this guitar this summer probably, just because it hasn't been upgraded in any way. I changed the knob, the control covers on it. That's it. But for this guitar, what we're going to do today is I'm going to take you step by step through the process. We're just going to wire it up. It has all the components all pretty well wired up. We just have to tack a couple of solder joints, mount the bridge, put the neck on, and it's a little bit of soldering and some screws. Anybody can do it, and out of the box these things play great. So I'm going to just walk you through the steps that we do. I have the instructions printed out from Solo, and I think we'll be ready to rock. So let's get this table set up and let's see if we can get some sound out of this thing. So before you begin any of these projects, you really want to make sure that you are fully stocked with all of the parts. Solo is very good at making sure that any missing parts get replaced. If anything doesn't work, they'll replace it. I've never had a problem with Solo as a customer service provider. They're fantastic. So in the bag, or in the box rather, you get, of course, the body and the neck. They throw in a cable in case you need one. I sometimes use these for signal tests, but they're not the best. Truss rod, wrench, and also you can't see it in here. Let me come to this camera. I can't see it in here. Oh, there it is. There's a tiny wrench for adjusting the action. Okay. They throw in a pack of strings, which is great for doing your initial setup if you want to make sure the neck is straight. Then what I do is I go through and I separate the hardware. Now they've gone ahead and pre-wired the pick guard so that the first pickup is already wired through, everything's mounted, and we just have to do a little bit of work separating things. Then what I do is I go through and I separate my electronic components, which you can see in this basket here. There's my control plate and the bridge, the jack, the screws that I need for whatever bits and pieces. When you can, anything related to the pickups, the pickup is a magnet, so I just do that so they don't lose those. Those are going to be the bridge screws. This one is set up so that you can do strings through the bridge or through the body. Right now I'm just going to go through the bridge because I don't feel like drilling. This is a piece of maple. flip it over here real quick, and I can count 1, 2, 3, 4 pieces. A 4-piece body. If you're painting it, that's great. If you're staining it, it's so-so. It's not the best, but I'm probably going to do some combination of the two later on. And then you get into the guts of it. So we have tuners, right? The neck plate, which has a nifty plastic cover. I leave the plastic cover on actually when I install it because it just protects a little bit better the wood. And then we've got the strap buttons. They're just standard strap buttons, and some string trees. Now, when you go through the instructions, Solo is very good at providing instructions. That's the wiring diagram. So they give you assembly instructions, right? And they start with, on here, the tuning machines, or the machine heads, and the string retainers. So the string retainers, sorry, the tuners, you can see they've pre-drilled. They don't do this on all of their guitars, I've found, but these are pre-drilled. They're not pre-drilled for the string retainers. What I like to do is actually string it up first so that I get the retainers in the right place, right? So that they're centered between the two sets of strings that they're supposed to retain. And again, I'm not doing any modifications right now. This is just finished maple. It's a 2-piece maple neck. There is... Oh, this one's not. Usually there's a scarf jointed neck, but that's okay. There is an adjustable truss rod with no cover, which is fine, which is what we want. They pre-drilled for the bolts for the neck, and these are the instructions. You can get the instructions on their website. Super easy to follow. And a couple of things, because it's not pre-drilled for the string retainers, we need a drill, right? I just use a tiny bit just to get the screws started. I learned that the hard way on the Strat. Some other tools, something to strip wire. I know it's not a wire stripper, but something to strip wire. This is a nut driver. Right? It's detachable. It turns out that tuning machines are, the nuts on the front are almost universally fit to this. This is a, let me see here, bring it in zoom, no, too shiny, 10 millimeter, right? So it fits, and I just leave it on this driver for exactly this purpose. A screwdriver with as many heads as you can possibly get, but usually just Phillips head screws on these kits, and I actually haven't set that up yet, which is fine. That won't take very long because it's just a bit driver. Okay, I'll just put that on. And also I use a set of precision screwdrivers for the very tiny screws that hold the tuning pegs in place. All right, so we want to keep that in mind as well. So you'll need a couple of different sizes of screwdrivers kicking around. Now, like I said, their instructions are to mount up the head hardware first. I'm going to actually do the wiring first, just to make sure that I get it done while my camera has a battery. So also wire cutters, string winder, super helpful, or the string windy bit, and a soldering iron and some solder. If you are not comfortable with this, take it to a guitar shop and get comfortable, or get somebody who is comfortable to do it, because you're going to need to do that anyway. All right, so let's get started. We're going to solder this up. Taking a look at the wiring diagram, which I'll turn around for you just for a second. We need to make sure that we have enough wires for all of this stuff, right? And it's not very complicated wiring procedure. We have to get everything basically out to the output, and everything has to be grounded. The neck pickup has 2 wires that are combined. There they are. Okay. The bare one is ground. The white one is your lead. This is the one that's going to the controls here. They have taken the step of wiring the pots and the switch. All right. Now, if you're ever confused about which one is the volume and which is the tone control, the tone control has one of these. It can be green, it can be blue, it can be orange. This is a capacitor, and this is wired on or soldered on to make sure that this pot acts like a tone control and not a volume. This one acts like a volume, Very, very simple. Okay, that's usually taken care of for you. The jack is going to go on more or less last in this procedure. The bridge also has 2 wires. Now, they've changed the color coding here a tiny bit. You'll see here on the diagram it's kind of a greenish yellow coming from the neck pickup, and here it's blue. You know, do the math. It's not that challenging, right? So what we need to do is make sure that we have enough ground wires, and we do, right? One of these, it doesn't matter which, is going to go to the jack. Okay? This white one is also going to go to the jack. So these guys are out of play. This one is going to go through this hole. There's a hole pre-drilled in here, up here, and to the bridge. We're not soldering anything to the bridge. We just need to strip enough wire back so that it's basically bare wire sitting under the bridge. You are effectively the ground. Okay, so that's it. First thing I'm going to do, I'm going to use this as my safety mat, just in case, and also happens to be roughly in line with this. Okay. So the first thing we're going to do, make sure the soldering iron is in fact hot, and it is. We're just going to tin that a little bit, real quick. Okay. You don't need to see this part because it's just messy soldering. Okay. Very burny, very nice. That stuff is stanky, man. Okay, so now we have a tinned tip. All right. I'm going to make sure that this is twisted. We got some work going on upstairs, sounds like. Make sure that this is nicely twisted. Okay. So they've indicated here, and has done so here as well, that they want the live wire here and here to connect. Okay? It's going to seem a little bit backwards because the switch is backwards. You see the switch is pointing this way. That's the bridge position. So the bridge has to be on this side of the switch. Right? That way. Same this way. So over here, the neck is going to be soldered over here. This ground can be soldered literally anywhere on the instrument. And I am going to use the handy little loop that they have right here. Okay, but don't let these 2 leads touch. That's the only sort of caveat to that. Okay, so I might have to turn the cameras off while I kind of get this because I need space to do it. All right, but I will be back very shortly. Oops, see, I already made a mistake. It's got to go on that side. Not that big of a mistake, mind you, but mistake nonetheless. Okay, what are these reds here? Don't know. Okay, well, this can also be soldered here onto the ground. It says here, bridge ground wire. This can be soldered to the volume or tone. The neck ground wire can be soldered to pretty much anywhere, looks like. But I'm probably going to solder it to the tone pot as well. Okay, so I'm going to come up from the bottom, which is actually the top, like so. And then just bend it down like so. And we're going to make that our solder joint there. Okay, so that's one. These guys are going to go to the jack, so let's get this dude stripped off a bit. Now, for those of you wondering how this all works in the end, this guitar is going to get some additional treatments. So, for example, when I go to do the final workup on it, we're going to actually copper shield inside of these cavities. There's going to be stain. We're replacing the pick guard. I'm not replacing the pickups yet, although I know a guy. Everybody knows a guy, right? I know a guy. And my guy's going to get me some really killer pickups for a really killer deal, so I'm looking forward to that. It's a little hard to tell on here, but it says to solder the ground to here, right? And I'm trying to determine whether these are grounds or not, and I think they are. And you don't usually see ground in red, but you know, it is what it is, that's all. Okay, it's a very, very tight little corner in here, so I'm probably just going to go over here. These are all connected anyway. Right, so I'm just going to get a little drip of solder onto this ground wire, first of all. Okay. Here we go. And that should fuse nicely right there. Should fuse nicely. Fuse nicely, please. There we go. Okay, so that's fused nicely. Clean that off. Okay, so the neck pickup is wired. Now, here's the really tricky part. It's not actually that tricky. Okay, we need to get this flipped so that we can feed this through there before we lock down the other part, which is the bridge, which contains the bridge pickup. Okay, so we should have enough wire here coming through to go through here. We should. And now it's not going to, because why would it cooperate when I need it to? You know, actually any piece of bare wire in this gauge will do this job just fine. Oh, you can just fold it. Me and my forgetting my own hacks, right? There we go. Ta-da! Alright, so that's gone through. And we're going to run this up this way. Try to run this up this way. There we go. Go in there, little wire. Thank you. Okay, perfect. So that's gone through the hole. Now that bridge is going to sit on there and ground itself, just like that. Where is my bridge? Hiding here in the electronics compartment. Electronics department. Alright, so the bridge just goes on. These are the bridge screws. We'll use those in a minute, but first let's get this guy wired through. So we can fish this through. And you don't have to, but you can just tape that down if you don't want it running away on you. Okay. Get these guys through the hole here. Ooh, there we go. Perfect, see? Now, remember the rule here, okay? It's not a rule, it's just how things go. Let's remember how things go here. Everything's got to fit. That's a big bonus if it happens. Okay, so the rule is ground to ground, and this guy, this lead on this end, which is our hot, is going to connect to these two little bits over here. So let's get those guys wet. I do this a little bit sloppy, I know. I'm not an electrical engineer by any stretch. Okay. Wasn't so bad, was it? Alright. I'm going to take this guy and weld it on here. Weld it, solder it on here. Sorry, welders. Now, Gibson style soldering job there. Okay. Alright, drop a little bit more. Just to make sure. Hey, get on there, you. That's enough. Quit wiggling around. So give my kid a bath. Stop it. There we go. Okay, and then get my ground. Has to go somewhere. I'm thinking here. I'm thinking right here in this guy. Okay, this is always the trick, right? It's trying to get these fed through these teeny little holes. And they don't give you very much to work with. Not Solo specifically, but any any guitar. You know, you try to get these things strung in place here. Right. So, and all of this can be fixed if you mess it up. It's totally fine, guys. It's like happy little accidents, right? Bob Ross style. Super, super easy to fix, okay? You just have to take it apart and do it again. And the wire is not expensive, so this one here is being really kind of a pain. It's being a pain because I'm trying to thread it backwards here through the hole. There we go. Okay, so we got that. Hopefully that will just hold in place there while I tack it down. Record on this side of the camera, and we're just going to tack that down in place. Okay. All right. Just test that joint real quick. Looks pretty good. That's old solder from somewhere else. You guys having fun yet? This is super exciting, right? Yeah. Yeah, no. All right, so finally we get to these guys. And they need to come out through the output jack this way. Out through the output jack this way. Come here, guys. Come on. There we go. There's one. Yeah, it's not like this is a tiny hole they drilled here. There we go. Okay. All right. So, with all of that in place, it all gets kind of squished down. There we go. And the alignment's pretty good. I think we'll be okay. And just slurp this out a little bit more. And I'm going to actually pin this down. So, you get an assortment of screws. And you kind of have to interpret a little bit where they go, but these all seem to be pretty much identical. So some of these are going to be for the output jack, and two of them will be for this control cover. So let's get screwing. There we go. I'm trying to do this with one hand. It's not working. Very professional job here. Okay. How about we do this one first? Hold it in place. There we go. Yes, you can use a power driver. No, you shouldn't use a power driver. You can if you need to. Okay, there's the other one there. If you have any problems with fitting, these can be taken down with a file or sandpaper if they don't fit. They can also be moved. One of the nice things about a pick guard is it covers any extra holes you might put in your instrument. So all those are optional, right? So I'm just going to screw this guy down. Okay, and remember, we also have a ground wire underneath here. So everything needs to be properly grounded. What does that mean? It means that it will control electrical hum and signal simply by using you as a way for the electricity to get into the earth. Pretty cool, actually. Okay, and we're only 22 minutes into a video here, so that's a pretty good clip. Probably run some of this at high speed, I think, because you don't need to see me put in a bunch of screws. All right, so that's clamped down pretty solid. This is a really solid piece of hardware. I gotta tell you, like, this feels like steel. I know it's probably aluminum, but it feels like steel, right? Volume, tone. Now, these guys need to get attached to this guy. So if you look on the wiring diagram, it shows you that there is a ground wire and a hot wire. The ground wire is always this one on the top. If you look closely, here's the angle, you look closely, you can see how this is like spade shaped and it's connected to the top. This hot wire part is actually the ring inside here. This is a fairly simple jack. It does what it's supposed to do. And one sec. Okay, and so you can see when you pop it in, it makes contact here. And that's all it needs to contact, because that contact is connected to the output electrical signal. Super, super easy. Oh, that's tight. Nice. Okay. So we need to find the ground wire. Ta-da! And it has to go on this one. We need to find the hot wire. Ta-da! That goes on this one. Okay. So we're doing the same procedure, but I'm not going to do it on top of the guitar body because I have a bad habit of seriously screwing up this part of the soldering job and having to redo it 7 or 8 times. So we're just going to hook that on, and we're going to hook this one on. Let's hook that one on first and just tack it. All right. I don't know if you can see what I'm doing from the main camera. Maybe you can on the side camera. Maybe you don't need to see it. It doesn't matter. Okay. Maybe you're better at soldering than I am. If you've ever done this before, you're probably better at soldering than I am. There we go. Done. That's all it takes. That's on there. All right. Get our second lead. So were you counting? 2 solder joints, 2 solder joints, 2 solder joints, 6 solder joints. This is the longest part of the whole operation here. Okay. And I am going to just take a little tiny bit of insulation off of this wire so we have a little bit more room to play. There we go. Done. And we're going to do the same thing. We're going to hook this in, go through the hole, and hook it around. That's it. Oops, that's not it. How did you screw that one up, Steve? I don't know. It's just doing stuff. There we go. Okay. Ta-da. There. Now, if you're really fancy and you have a little alligator clamp rig, this is much easier. I'm not really fancy. If there's any pickup builders or luthiers out there watching me do this, keep it to yourself. I don't want to know. There we go. Okay. That's actually it for the soldering. Okay, so I'm going to unplug the soldering iron for safety so it has a chance to cool down. And we're going to mount this. Okay, so feed that back into the cavity from whence it came, if you can, which apparently I can't because reasons. Right? Let's maybe not get it too tangled up here. We have to get a guitar cord in there somehow. There we go. Get in there, you. Get in there. Quit it. Quit messing around. Quit messing around my guitar. That's interesting. Okay, so we have to move this up and out of the way a little bit. Okay. Oh, for crying out loud. Let's get this out of here. I'm telling you, the handiest thing here is having a magnet right on your workpiece, so you're not losing your stuff. Pull that through, and let's see if we can get it lined up here. Nope. They probably have it like pre-drilled for like one specific way to set it up. And it's like way off. So this happens from time to time where the alignment isn't exactly where you want it. All right, we're pretty good there. And we're using the same screws that we used on here. And right here, we have 4 of them. So again, we'll just, you know, quick whip through this. And ideally, what we've actually got going on here is a functional electric guitar, minus the other bits, right? And that is all there is to this part. Okay. Now, I'm not going to do a full setup in this video because I just want to get a functional guitar rocking here, all right? That's all I'm looking for. Is a functional, playable Telecaster style guitar right out of the box. Done pretty much exactly the way you just saw me build it. All right. I will do a test before I go live with the recording tone test, because that would suck if I got everything set up and had to go back and rewire it somehow. But that's okay. One more thing. I'm going to do this. I'm going to tie down the control cover, and then I'm going to add the strap buttons because they are there to be added. All right. Grab this. Oh, you probably bolted down the bridge too. All right. So get all these guys in there. Don't have to be too pretty about this. Usually, this isn't one of those fancy country and western guitars. Bear in mind, I'm gonna have to do all of this again, but I'm not going to do this part of it when I do the finishing treatment. I'm not going to shoot this as a video because you've already seen all of this. So what I'm showing you right now is how quickly you can set up a guitar, or assemble rather a guitar from a kit purchased from Solo Music Gear for less than the cost of a set of pickups. Okay, there you go. Let's get this guy bolted down. Same thing again. Yes, you can use a power driver. No, I'm not using a power driver. I'm pretty excited about the way this is turning out. This is going really well. Knock on wood. Okay. Now, unlike some imports that will give you a picture of spalted maple, this is actually a spalted maple veneer. It's very thin, so you do have to be careful when you're finishing it, or sanding it at least. But it is for sure spalted maple. This bridge is now locked in place, and I have to work around this saddle a bit. Somehow, let's see if this goes. Hey, it should go past. Nope. Why would it? Why would it do that? Okay. Let's see. Isn't that interesting? Kids, don't try this at home. I actually need to take this thing off. But be careful with this. This will rocket across the room like nothing. Right? That spring, there we go. Spring barrel screw. Should have done that first, actually. We will have to set the intonation. some point. Make that part of the test. Okay, there we go. That's going in. Nice. Okay, cool. All right. And back to this guy. There we go. Generally, there should be fairly close, but we haven't set the action or anything. Strap buttons will go on next. Maybe. Okay, move the neck for a sec. Spin it around. So it goes like this. Pad, button, screw. Okay, so there's the screw. Put the button on. Put the pad on. And mount up. Oh, very tiny. There we go. You see what I mean though? Like this is not it. I'm like half an hour into this build and we've almost got a functional guitar already. Right? Okay. And spin it around. It's not anything you can't handle with a couple of tools and tiny bit of know-how and how to actually use those tools. Right? So there again. Get that lined up. A couple twisties and in you go. So I've never actually ran these cameras this long. So I'm very curious to see how this plays out. Very curious to see what time it is. 20 after 11. Okay. There. So straps in place, strap buttons in place. The neck. So this is really quite crucial. That before you set all of this up, you make sure the neck fits. I already did, and everything is fine. It's snug. Snug is good. You want snug. Snug means there's less room for it to mess around. Right? So just make sure that that's in as good as it gets, as well as it can be. Right? And we're going to put a plate. I actually didn't check the alignment of these holes either. Not great. So that's a little bit wonky looking. Right? See what I mean? So hopefully this goes well, because I haven't tested this. I haven't checked this yet. So I'm hoping this grabs the neck the way it's supposed to. Let's find out. Okay. So far, so good. Okay, don't pull off the line there, buddy. Come on now. Come on now, Bubba. All right, let's get this guy going. There he goes. Okay. So, very interesting thing that we've learned today, that this particular instrument has some very creatively aligned neck holes. That's okay. It's holding on. And so for, again, right, keep in mind what you're getting. There could be some woodwork involved if you wanted to. If you wanted to correct that, right, you simply fill the holes and rebore. Not a lot of fun, but you can do it. Right. And in my opinion, as long as the neck is holding on, for the most part, what happens with the neck plate is really nobody's problem but your own. And there we go. Okay. This is it, guys. We are so close to having a finished guitar. You literally only have to put the machine heads in. And the string trees, of course. There. Okay. So there is not too bad, and it's straight. It is not straight. Okay. We're just going to have to take this all apart and do it again. And that's the fun of building guitar kits, folks. Take it apart and do it again. I've had this scenario before, and what we ended up having to do was cut one of the screws. And I think that might be something close to what we're going to have to do here. This is not going on as well as it should. And that's obviously not the scenario I'm looking for. Okay. Okay, so now we've got it tight in there in that pocket. Okay. Now that it's tight, I want to pull this in tighter. Okay. If this screw causes me a problem, I will leave it out until I have a chance to check the woodworking on it. Okay, so we have 3 of the 4 screws in, pocket's tight, everything is looking the way it should, except for this screw. I'm sorry if you can't see what I'm doing here. Going in at a bit of an angle, so I really want to get that screw in and pulling the neck in tight. Tight. Okay, there we go. Oh, look at that, it worked. Okay, so we just have to make sure that's done. Okay, cool. Now, the fun part, which is kind of the ending part. We're getting close to the end. If you flip this over, you'll see tiny little screw holes here, so that means they have to line up this way. Okay, I am going to start here. Okay, and when you put these on, you really just finger tight with the nut. We'll come back and tighten them up later, but first let's get them in line. That's first part of the battle. Get them in line. Oops. And I'm going to use the screws that Solo sent. the screws, the strings that Solo sent. I have some really nice Ernie Ball super slinkies to go on this. Nice vintage tone nickel wound strings. Strings I've been playing for over 30 years. And we're going to use those on the finished product after we make sure that the guitar works. So I'm not going to do any fancy luthier's knots or anything like that on here. I'm just going to do a regular old Joe Blow wind it on too many times kind of knot. And I'm actually going to stop in a few minutes once I get these on, and I'm just going to explain to you later on how I put the string trees on. Well, we'll see. We'll see how this goes. Okay, so in they go. And my battery's running out on my phone. Don't know how the camera's doing. Okay, there we go. Get those on, and they are finger tight. I'll flip the guitar over. These are peel off, so when, you know, before you put it on display, make sure you take those off. I usually leave them on anyway, just they're not in my way. And this is where these guys come in handy. Okay. So this is a precision screwdriver set. Tends to work a little bit better for these tiny little tuning machine head screws. Right? Just get it in there because they're so small. They're so itty bitty. Itty bitty little things. Although very, very snug fit. Let me just try something here. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I don't want to use a precision one. I have been known to be wrong on rare occasion. Ask my kids. Nope. That's the smallest one yet. So we're going to use these guys, and not that one though. That one's the cat's now. Okay, maybe we can get this in. No, that will never fit. Don't be silly. All right, here we go. Gonna have one of those. I see. Sometimes your guitar build fights with you every step of the way. Sometimes. Not all the time. Sometimes. I'm aware, by the way, that these are not all the way in. Alright, I'm going to come back and tighten them up. I just want to get this built and making noise real quick here for you. And I don't want to take the time looking for another screwdriver. Okay. And it almost feels like they didn't drill these pilot holes far enough. You know? That's what it feels like. Like they're just locking out. Can you imagine if I was doing this and one of these tiny little screws split the headstock of the guitar? Oh man, yeah, those are not right. Hold on one sec. Quickly plug in the phone there so we don't lose picture. This will take like an hour, right? It's like an hour to put this together. If that, right? So there you go. So this is what I'm going to do. I'm going to do this much, and I'm going to string it up and tune it up and see if we can get her playing. Mount the string trees. what you want to do is you want to make sure that you read the instructions, and the directions here actually say two different heights on the string retainers. Install the higher one with the longer screw between the third and fourth strings, and the shorter one between the first and second strings. Now you may need to go online to see where they need to be positioned, not just which strings they're between, but where they actually need to go lengthwise along the headstock. But typically, because it's the third and fourth and the first and second strings, they're going to be here-ish, right? Grab our nut driver and drive our nuts using snug. And that's it, guys. We have a functional electric guitar. We've got the string trees are there for the break angle, so the angle to take them down so there's a little bit more tension on the string so it doesn't slip around in the nut. But other than that, we're done. That's it. So I'm going to string this up and I will be back when it's done. We are back, stringlings, and we have completed the setup on this Telecaster style spalted maple top from Solo Music Gear. It is a really great looking guitar. I mean, any way you cut it. And I have done no finishing on this at all. This is all straight out of the box, exactly the way it says in the instructions. I got the string trees added. I strung it up with the strings they provided. I don't know the make of the strings, not a clue. But for the purposes of this little demo, it doesn't really matter. Now, I'm going to say, as we go through this, I'm going to trigger a couple of different sounds because obviously you want to have a pretty good overview. I haven't done a lot of setup on this guitar. I adjusted the action and the pickup height so that it sounds like a guitar. The one thing is I'm not fond of the barrel type saddles, personally. I find that to get them to where the action is low enough, the action height screws are actually quite high. So for me, it actually scratches my hand quite a bit when I'm playing. I kind of have to play out of my normal place where I would normally palm mute down on, like, closer to the bridge, because the screws, I don't know if you can see, maybe not, they're actually quite high, just to get the action to a usable level. So for future reference, sorry, there's still tools all over my bench. I just wanted to get this done quick. So for future reference, I might consider resaddling, or even possibly replacing the bridge. And there is another added feature to this particular guitar that came out once I plugged it in, and it is this. Listen. The pickup's very, very microphonic, and so that means we're getting a lot of sound from the instrument itself being picked up by the pickups, so not wax potted or anything like that. So just be aware, if you wanted to get a pro performance out of this, you will have to wax pot the pickups yourself, or get upgraded pickups. Another cool thing about this one, though, is that the center voice is noise canceling. Listen. Actually, I'm going to put on a distorted channel here. Hold on. Okay, so the middle position is a little bit more noise canceling. And one of the kind of funky things about this, I mean, yeah, this room is a little bit noisy on the electrical side, but I did find that it was buzzing quite a bit. It's not too bad now as I'm facing this way. It's the monitors, right? So there's that. That's kind of a big deal there. But let's just give it a listen. I'm going to go clean first, and I'm using the Fort & Cali suite from Neural DSP, as I almost always do because it's awesome. So here is the bridge pickup clean. Tuning doesn't count for anything, right? Pretty good. That's pretty good, right? Now, there's a little bit of buzzing I have to do. I haven't done any fretwork or anything on it. But also, in addition to that, oh, what was I going to say? Completely slipped my mind. Okay, well, we'll cut that part. We'll come back. So also, in addition to that, a little bit of buzz. The pickups are not very high output. I've actually got my interface dialed up almost to noon on the input, and my DAW cranked, right, to get any kind of volume out of it. And it's, it's not even close to redlining right now. But listen, you hear that little bit of reverb? That's the springs on the bridge ringing. So we shouldn't be hearing that. So we're going to come up with some solutions when we go to do the finished work on this. We're going to come up with some solutions for ways around this, the scratchy thing and the springs and the microphonic pickup. But if we listen to the middle position, pretty decent, right? And the neck position, so if you ignore the accidental reverb from the springs, it's not an actual spring reverb. It sounds pretty decent. It sounds pretty good. Let's throw a little bit of ambience on there for some actual reverb. It's bright. Like, it's really bright. And then the neck, right? So you hear that buzz cutting through? Yeah, it's pretty dramatic in terms of noise. That's okay. Again, I haven't done any shielding. So what we're going to do when we go to finish this guitar is we're actually going to put a copper tape shielding inside all of the cavities, of course, which is always a smart idea if you can manage that, as well as possibly some conductive paint. I'll toy around with it a little bit, and I'm going to look into what I need to do with the pickups themselves, or I know a guy who's got some of these pickups, and he's really, really good at making pickups, so a little bit more on that later. Action-wise, feels pretty good. I'm going to throw in a little bit of dirt here. You should hear a boost in the noise level, maybe not. So this is really just kind of a gain. It's they call it blasted single coil Brit. Is that the one? Dynamic single coil. Right, so this is just like an overdrive channel, like you would get any kind of rock thing, and it cranks quite a bit. But man, like you've got your own percussion section, built-in reverb with the springs on the bridge, right? I mean, tone-wise, it's good. Tone-wise, it's nice. It's totally serviceable. This guitar, the Strat here with the original pickups in, it was noisy in the individual pickup positions, and it was noise canceling in the 2 and 4 position. This one is sort of noise canceling in the middle, but it won't cancel that microphonic sound, right? Like, we shouldn't be getting full-on percussion, and we should not be getting spring tones, right? Here are the 2 pickups together. Pretty cool. Wouldn't normally strum in the neck position. I don't know why they call it rhythm. Do they? I don't know. It sounds like a neck pickup. Single coil neck pickup, right? So it's kind of like... Yeah, so a couple of little interference things going on too. So I will have to look into what it will take to maybe get the saddles a little bit more responsive, because I'm hearing some extra, almost like pings, and it's not the springs. It's the string is reacting in a weird way. I do like this single coil sound though. That's very cool, right? And really good sweep. Really good sweep. I'm going to go back to the kind of echo chamber here and see how that sounds. For really generic pots, the very, very smooth sweep. So if we're on the neck pickup, really trebly sound. Take the tone down. You know, I think most people would want this as kind of a country or rock kind of guitar. I think, personally. Yep. You know, so it has that sparkle, it has that brightness to it, but it's not a Fender. Don't expect a Fender. But it is a really, I mean, it's a solid workable guitar. It is heavy as heck. Like, this is a solid hunk of maple. I know it's 4 pieces, but man, oh man, it is heavy as heck. This thing's a beast. So just to give you an idea, what we're gonna do, I'm gonna put a little bit of a belly carve in here just to round it out. Probably take some of this edge off. I like the neck. I'm not troubled by the neck at all. We're gonna do some stain work on it. This might end up being black-ish. Right, so that's, you know, something to look forward to. We're going to double check the action at the nut. Feels like it's a little bit sharp because it's a little bit high, so I might file that down. This is a 10 gauge standard set that's on here. I'm going to put on some super slinkies, nickel wound super slinkies for this guy, and then we're going to look into some of these other little issues. The spring thing is that's gonna irritate me if I don't fix that. Quick fix is to, you know, shove a couple of cotton balls in there, but who wants to walk around with cotton balls hanging off the front of their guitar, right? It's not cool. So anyway, this is the Solo Music Gear TCK. I forget the number. I will put the description. Very good, solid guitar. Excellent starting point for finishing on these instruments. It was really easy to put together. I think about 6 solder joints and some screws. That's it, right? So if you're looking for a way to get into these things, this is a really great kit. The Strat is also a really great kit, same kind of deal. It comes with the pick guard loaded. It won't look like this. The pickup assembly is all white on the original. These are Fishman's, so this is all upgraded. But either of these guitars, if you're looking for an entry-level kit to start building, these are excellent, excellent instruments to start with. And then just a couple of little, details that you deal with as you upgrade, right? So keep that in mind. And if you like this video, if you like this walkthrough on the build, stay tuned, because we are going to be doing more of the actual finish work on this once the weather gets a little bit warmer and I can sand outside the house. And of course we have a couple of other builds going on as well. But make sure that you are subscribed to the channel, hit that bell button so you get the updates when they come in, and keep an eye out on Instagram for more updates on where these other projects are going, because this thing I think is going to look and play super cool when we're done with it. Yeah, so make sure you like and subscribe, and if you want to talk to Solo Music Gear about getting any of these instruments, I put my affiliate link as well down in the description, so you can check that out. And we will be back soon enough talking some more about this guy and some other instruments, so keep an eye out and have yourselves a great day.